Good evening if you're just joining us. We have a few minutes to go, but welcome to Happy Hour. You can let us know you're here in the chat. Hope you had an awesome day. We'll start in a few minutes. So welcome if you're just joining us. It's 7 o'clock now. We're hopefully going to start in a few minutes. If you're watching or tagging along, just let us know in the chat that you're here. We are going to be looking at Scratch, but if you work more with primary friends, let me know. We can show you what it could look like in Scratch Junior, or we can switch, whatever works for folks. And yeah, looking forward to exploring tonight. So let us know in the chat, and we'll get started in a few minutes. Hi there, friends. If you're just joining us, make sure you tell us, say hi in the chat. So in your Google, in your YouTube account, just make sure you're logged into your Google account. And once you're logged in, you can use the chat throughout our session tonight. Hey, Sharon. Thanks for joining us. I think we're going to be a smaller crew tonight. We could have done this over a Google Meet, but that's okay. Hope you had an awesome day. This weather is crazy, back and forth everywhere. So just as we're starting, a quick question about Scratch. I know Sharon and I hung out. We were together for coding games. So if you are joining us tonight, let us know your comfort level. The idea with tonight, if you did come to the coding a game session, is just to look at pushing and adding some more blocks of code to our collection. So yeah, that's kind of where we're going to get started. But it does tell us we have a few people on. I think we're just going to get started if that's okay. And Sharon, maybe you and I chatting, if that's all right with you. I'll leave my chat up. So tonight we're looking at creating an interactive card. We can kind of go a few different ways with this, so we can make it a little trickier or we can start simpler. Nice to see you, Catherine. Thanks, Sharon. So yeah, so we're going to look at coding an interactive card. I went a little intense with my code, I realized after, and we could have probably done something a little simpler. So we're going to look at a couple things today. We want to look at how we can make our own sprites, because that gives you more control, especially with text, how we can create text, put it, bring those elements in. And we're also going to look at some codes. Last time we did a lot of if-then statements, which we can still do, but today we're going to look at kind of broadcasting a message, how one click can then send a message to 4 or 5 other sprites so that we can kind of have that chain reaction. So if you are working with primary, you can actually do the same thing in Scratch Junior. So you can actually, they do this really cool thing of an envelope, and you send the envelope for someone else to pick up. So for us today, in the full version of Scratch, it's called broadcast a message. So you kind of taking everybody or giving everybody a heads up, it's their turn. So those are the two pieces of code I thought, or elements I thought we could explore in Scratch, just because it adds to our toolbox. And even if we're exploring games or doing some of that piece, we can do that in here. I don't know what I just said, but we're going to go with it. Okay, so we're going to look at some of the elements for our card. We can decide between the few of us if we want to do something a little trickier or we want to keep it a bit simpler. We're going to do what we did last time, where we look at the code and look at the activity or see my example and try to break down the code to see what elements would make sense or what code we think we're using. And then we're going to hopefully end up with an awesome message you can share out and send along to people. And we can look back at that curriculum, which I forgot to link today, the coding curriculum, and kind of see what code we tackled or where we feel it fits in that continuum. If that's okay with people, I'm going to show you my example and we can start deconstructing, seeing what code we use. So this is my fancy interactive card, which doesn't look really that fancy. And we are going to push go so you can check it out. I guess I have to click, and you're not getting the full effect because there's sound effects in here, including an applause and my voice, but the sound is coming from my phone. So imagine the sound effects. And it looks really simple, but if we look inside, you're going to see there's many different elements, but I don't want to give the code away. So looking at our card, I'll play it again. Think about what kind of blocks of code you think we needed to include. What kind of chunks or tasks do we need to code to make the card happen? You can drop them in the chat and we'll take those from there. We actually did this with some grade 7s and 8s, nope, just 8s today, as we were looking at coding games, just so that they can start taking that bigger problem and putting it into chunks. I think a lot of times when we do coding, we're giving them individual steps, but eventually when they're designing their own projects, we want them to be able to take that big idea or that big task that they have of coding a game and then breaking down what they want their game to do and what chunks of code they can kind of tackle as they go along. So any ideas? I'm not very good at being patient today, I guess. What code blocks do you see happening in our card? All right, so Sharon said she's still trying to sign up for Scratch. While we do that and while people are logging into Scratch and adding that in, you don't need to log into Scratch to create. You can actually create and download, which we talked about last time. But if you are signing up for Scratch, just a suggestion, you may want to go to the educator accounts of Scratch. And I should have had the link ready. So if you go to educators, scratch.mit.edu/educators, if you sign up for a teacher account, it will just give you more control. So as you request an account, it will create the account right away, but it does take some time to get it activated. So you can create a username and password and follow those steps there. The teacher account differs from the personal account in that you're able to manage a class, add students, abide by all the privacy guidelines that are out there. So when I look at my card here, again, it looks super simple. I had one set of code for my backgrounds. So if I look at my backgrounds, I have this color changing background. And then I also had to change my background once I clicked on the envelope. So even just these pieces all popping up, I had that as separate lines of code. So my envelope appearing, my note appearing, and my click on me appearing. I also have my little arrow, so I've created a little loop so that it's continually pointing. I then had to create a set of code so that when I click on it, those objects disappear and something new appears. I don't know if I love what I did with my stars. I just had them growing and shrinking in size with a little pause in between. Maybe next time I would have them rotate. And then there's another set of code that's attached to the sounds. So I had a song playing at the beginning, so it plays throughout. And then once I click on the envelope, I wanted those other sounds to pop up, the applause and the message that says they're awesome. So even something that looks super simple does have a lot of different pieces kind of coming into play. So as we create our card today, we can do a couple things. We can make it a bit simpler, and we'll probably just stay on one background, but then we'll have some stuff. We'll have a message that pops up. We'll draw an element so we have those experiences. And yeah, if that sounds okay to you, just let me know in the chat. Sharon, let me know if you got onto Scratch, and we can get going from there. I'm going to create a new page. Does anybody have an idea of what they want for their message already? So for our code, last time we focused a lot on the blue, the movements, and our events and our variables. Today we're going to explore a bit more about the looks and the sounds, so we can dive a little deeper. COVID is over? Maybe we make one saying wishing you a speedy end to COVID. Happy COVID holidays. Oh, there's so much we can do there. Maybe we get a character and we put on masks on our characters. Okay, so I have my page. Let's start with some of the pieces. The hardest piece with anything that we're creating, and I think we've talked about this many times before, is really planning out what we want to say. So Sharon, you have me inspired. I'm trying to think of a good COVID message. All I can think of is really, really cheesy things. Like COVID may keep us apart. But, oh yeah, it's too cheesy. I can't do it, Sharon. Maybe we'll just have one saying, is COVID over? And then they can click and say, not yet, but it will be soon. How about that? That sounds a bit better. Okay. So to do that, I'm going to put a background in here, and I'm going to have just my, it should be an upbeat message, right? COVID is COVID over? And we should have a click, and then it should say really soon. See you really soon. See you then. How about that? We'll put some upbeat music, make it nice and bright, and enter and hopeful. So the first thing I want to do is set up my backdrop. Now I have vaccines on the way. Yeah, that's it. We have lots that we can go with there. Okay, so with my background, I can definitely go and search for a background, so feel free to do that. Just a note that you can also import your own pictures. So this morning, when I was working with some grade 6s, I actually used my own photo in the background, so you can do that if you want. The other thing you can do is you can use your pencil to design your own background. So even if I just wanted something like a simple color background, this is my drawing palette in Scratch, and you can design anything that you really want. So I can go into my fill. I'm going to create a cool, I think blue feels hopeful. So I'm going to draw a shape to cover the background here. So I have my square, and we're going to try to draw it all around. I can resize it, and I have a nice, bright, colorful background. So if you have a background, we're also going to do the same thing with the sprite. Now I have to think, if I have my message that says, is COVID over? So then I'm going to click on that speech bubble, and then the next one is going to be not yet, but a vaccine's on the way. So to do that, I'm going to actually draw a speech bubble for that is covered over yet. So I'm going to go into my paint. I can just use my paintbrush here and get my whites. I'm going to draw. So I'm just drawing the speech bubble. That's not the best speech bubble. I'll use my paint bucket there. This is where I would probably draw some of these pieces if I really was excited about drawing. I would probably draw some of these pieces right in my my drawing app and then bring them over as a ping design with a background. I just realized while I'm doing this, I may go look and see if they have a speech bubble, because I can actually edit and doodle on the sprites. So I could always see if they have one. I don't think they do. No luck for me. So I'll undo this and do it again because I want something a little fancier. So let's just, that looks okay. Let's paint it in. It's kind of in the wrong spot, so I'm going to just bring it down. And I'm deciding if I want the speech bubble to show up first, or if I want the words, the speech bubble and the words to pop up together, because I could put them all on one sprite, or if I want to do it separately. So for this one, I'm just going to add it right here onto my page, and I'm going to use the text to write, "Is COVID over yet?" Okay, I'm going to change that fill, and then I'm coming to Sharon's question. That's not very easy. That kind of looks like handwriting. I'm going to put a enter in there so we can get this nice and big. All right, so that's my sprite. It is hard to draw with a mouse. So that's why I find if I'm drawing things, I like to use the shape. So I'll do another one here. Because what I could have done is I could have drawn a circle here and then come in with my paintbrush just to add the little bottom. So that looks a little, I have to paint it in by hand though because it's not a full shape. So that feels a little more, a little cleaner. And then I could come in with my text and say, "Is COVID over yet?" And we can change that font. Now, because this is one sprite, I won't be able to animate my pieces separately. So that's really where you want to think ahead of time of how you want things to come into your animations so that you can decide that. I'm going to trash this one. This one looks nice and dark and really pops against that background color. And while we're here, I'm going to put my other message in. And to do that, I'm actually going to duplicate, because I'm going to see if I can take my bubble here and make the background, there we go. I have to see if my words will, let me switch it up. Just makes it a tad bit easier as you're going through to kind of change things up. You don't have to spend as much time. One of the expectations in the math curriculum is to be efficient with your code, so that duplicate over time is huge. Okay, so let me know if you have kind of, we need something to start off our animation, our little message, and we need something to end it. We'll come in and put some cool, enhance it as time goes on. So as long as we have two things and we know one is going to pop up after the other, we're good to go. Just let me know in the chat that you're ready. I realize I am going to add one more thing because I'm going to want to click here. I just want my little prompt. I'm going to put down here. So let me know when you're ready to go, and we'll keep coding. If you have any other questions, let us know. I know drawing is super hard with a mouse, but that's, again, one of the cool things is that you could choose a sprite that's already in the collection and just make little edits to it if you wanted to. So I can take something like the apple, if it loads. There we go. And I can go into costumes along the top, and I can go make that, I don't know why I would make it a black apple, but feels very Maleficent-like. So you're able to change up any of those sprites that are already there. Sure. So any of your sprites, let me add one in here. So one of the ones I did in my card is I had the stars. So I'm going to see if I can find happy star. So we'll put the star. So once my star loads, if I wanted more than one star, I can just right click on that sprite and I can duplicate. Now, I won't do too many now because later on, it will actually duplicate the code as well. So I don't, if I duplicate now, I'd have to do the code for all of them, but just right click and duplicate. And like I said, we'll do that in a bit to make sure there's a bunch of them on there. Let me know if you're all good, and we'll get into coding this awesomeness. Are we all good? Okay. So I'll talk through the code. Let me know in the chat. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Sharon. So with our code right now, we're going to decide what's on the screen first, and then we want to hide that and have the rest of our pieces pop up. So I'm thinking, I'm just talking through my code so that I can kind of think it through. I'm going to have my is COVID over yet pop up when the card is started with the green flag. And then I'm going to make click here pop up so that they know they have to click to make the other awesomeness start. Again, I could just animate it so they don't ever have to click. We're just doing that today so we see some different pieces of code. And then I'm going to have not yet, but soon pop up. And I want that to pop up as the stars pop up. And I also want my backdrop to change different colors. So to your point, Sharon, feels happy and exciting. So that will help us. We can also add some sound on at that point. Okay, so I'm going to start with my first sprite. Remember, they all have their own code. So for this one, when I push the green flag, I want to just wait under my control. So those are just my yellow and my orange. I'm just going to zoom here in so you can see a bit better. So I just want it to, when I click, wait, and then I want it to show. Now, one of the things I find with the looks is that you have to think when you're doing these things that you probably want them to go in pairs. So if I don't want it to be there at the beginning, I'm going to have to hide it at some point. So I'm going to hide it when it first starts, and then it will wait a second and appear, and we'll check it out. So that's why for this friend right now, I don't want that to show up yet. So when the green flag is clicked, and again, I'll zoom in so you can see a bit better, I'm just going to hide, go into my looks. It's about halfway through there. I'm going to hide it so that they don't see it. So I click on the green flag. Is COVID over yet? And I haven't put any other code, so my white speech bubble won't show up yet. So for my star, I can make sure that's hid as well. So when the green flag is clicked, I don't want anybody to see you yet, so I'm going to just hide you. So at this point, our code, this is a hard part. Like we all kind of do different workflows. I'm thinking at this point in your code, you want to make sure you hide everything that isn't going to be seen yet. And we can start, then we'll come back to those things that we want to show up. So at this point, I want everything to be hidden till I tell them to go. So let me know how you're doing. Again, I'm just hiding those objects I don't want to be shown yet. And I just had my main object stay on. You can literally take all of this off and just leave is covered over yet visible from the very beginning if you wanted to. I might actually have is COVID over yet wiggle because I want people to really notice it. So I'm going to go into my controls and I'm going to have for 4 times, I'm going to have it go wiggle left, right, and left. Let's see how that looks. Oh, I need to wait in between. I don't know about you guys, but I find if I don't wait in between, you can't always see it. Oh, it's, oh, no. That doesn't look very cool, does it? I'll have to try some other code. I'm going to have to rotate it back. And this is usually what happens at some point is that your code goes a little funky. Oh, I have an idea. I can make it glide down. So we could have it start there. And then I could glide it down into the middle. Let's see what that X and Y is. -8 and 11. Let's try that out. I'm going to have it go up to here at the beginning. So we'll have it go to and a start and then come back. Okay, at this point, you should just have hidden everything that you don't want up on the screen at first. Your first object can just be sitting in the spot, or you can give it some movement, or you can hide it and have it appear. Let me know in the chat that you're good to go. I'm convinced I'm going to get it to wiggle. Yeah, that doesn't look good. Have to give up on that. Let me know when you're good in the chat. So that other code should just say when clicked, hide. And then our main sprite, we can add some movement to it. We can just let it be. You can kind of see how you can start simple or you can get crazy. The possibilities are endless, especially with Scratch, which is one of the reasons I love it. And kids can kind of take it where they want to go. So as we were looking with some grade 8s today at eventually coding their own games, you could see that they were all kind of drawn to different types of games. So giving them that possibility to design what they want is super cool. So if we're okay, I think we're going to go to the next code block so that we can start figuring out that transition from this being on the screen to our other message being on the screen. So right now it says, is COVID over yet? And we're putting a click in for fun. Again, you could just do your timing if you wanted to keep it simpler. But we're going to try to do the click if that's okay. Hope everybody's still with me. So right now I have this topic here that says click here. I do want that to appear because I don't know if everybody's going to know to click on the screen. So I hit it, but I'm going to go into control and just use my wait so that it doesn't pop up right away. So I think I'm going to wait 3 seconds because there's probably 3 seconds by the time it moves down. And I'm going to go back to my looks and I'm going to show it again. So so I'm just going to check it out, make sure it looks okay. That looks all right. So I like that. I'm just gonna, I would like to move that over. It's not in the right spot. Helps if I click the user. There we go. Okay, so I'm happy with my code so far. I want it that when I click on is COVID over yet, I want is COVID over yet to disappear. I want click here to disappear. And I want my sprite, my other sprite to show up. Now to do that all at the same time, getting that timing right would be really hard. So that's where I can put in send a message from that action. So when you click on the circle or on the speech bubble, I'm going to send a message, and I'm going to send a message to all those other objects that they need to do something. So to do that, in my events, we used these guys last time when we were coding a game, that space, the sprite clicked, but we're going to go down here when it says when to broadcast a message. So I'm going to need this, that it needs to broadcast a message, but I need to do that when the sprite is clicked. So when somebody clicks on this sprite, that my object, my speech bubble, I'm going to send a message and I'm going to hide because we don't need to see that anymore. So I may actually hide and then send the message just to make it a bit easier. So let's test that out. I test my code out every time just because I find if not, we get too, the code gets too crazy and it escapes me. Okay, so it worked. It disappears. I need click here to disappear, and I need my white speech bubble to start, to pop up. So I'm going to go back to click here, and I'm going to go into my events, and I'm going to say, when you get the message, I want you to go hide again. So we'll just make that disappear. And then with my other one, With my white, I'm going to come in here with events, and I'm going to say when I receive the message. Notice you can have more than one message. I'm going to go into looks, and I'm going to show. So let's test that out. I click my green flag to start. Oh, and this always happens. So I come in here and I realized I've hit it, but I didn't show it. So I need to make sure at the beginning of my code, I've made it show up. Is COVID over yet? Click here, I click. Hey, not yet, but soon. It's not too exciting yet, so I'm going to try to make that a bit fancier. But in the meantime, I just want to make sure we're all okay with that original code. So remember, we broadcast a message when that first sprite is clicked, and then our objects received that message and had actions connected to after they received that message. So it's kind of like tag. So same with my star here, it's hidden when it gets the message. When I receive the message, I'm going to show, and I may get it to continually rotate. So I'm going to go into control forever and get it to turn around like it's motion. Let's see how that looks. So I'm going to start from the beginning. Is COVID over yet? Click here, click, and look at that cool star. It's going a little too fast, so I may make those turns smaller. Maybe we'll just do 5. There we go. Maybe we'll even do 3. How are you doing with your code? Sharon, did you go down the rabbit hole? Going down another pathway? Sharon, to your point earlier, this is where it's really handy. So I can right click and duplicate, and it's going to take all that code I just made and duplicate it straight for this next object. So I don't have to change all of the code. I don't have to keep coding it over and over again. I can just keep duplicating and they'll all have that set of code. So we'll stop and start. I feel like I could use some more stars. I'm glad you're having a blast. That's awesome. Look at that. The stars aren't in the right spot, but I think it looks pretty good. All right, let me move one of these stars over. Maybe we'll just put them all around. Okay, maybe a bit better. Still not loving it, but now to make this really, duplication is a huge tool to help you out. It's kind of my go-to, and I used to always duplicate ahead of time because I created my sprites, and I never clued in that I could duplicate the code. You can also duplicate your code when you're in a block of code. So if I need my character to do it twice, I can duplicate that in here. I can't duplicate, I haven't found a way to duplicate across characters. There is a section for you to make your own blocks, to make your own variables, not your own variables, but your own functions. So I haven't explored that yet, but I do know that may be something we could do with our older students once they're more proficient. So I love our looks, but I want to change the background. So when we get there, not yet, but soon, I want the background to change lots of colorful colors. So I'm going to go to the backdrop, and I'm going to put in some code. So I'm going to say when we get the message, I'm going to forever change the background color. Remember how my card had that constant changing color scheme? And I used some really cool looks features. In looks, you have a lot of different pieces. You can switch backdrops. So I could switch to I'm trying to think of a backdrop that would be happy. What would be happy here? Do we have anything that looks super... Oh, let's do the heart. I feel this needs to be... We should have had hearts then, but that's okay. I'm picky with my designs tonight. And I want that background, that heart, to just keep changing colors. So I'm going to actually change the color or change the backdrop. So I'm going to make sure that when my game first starts, when I click on my backdrop, when my game starts, when I push the green flag, I want there to be the first and maybe our second backdrop. Let's check that out to make sure. Yeah, that's right. And then when they receive the message, I want the backdrop to switch to hearts. And then I want it to keep changing colors. So that's in these ones right here. You can set a color effect. So that will be permanent, but you can also change a color effect. See, that's why I don't think hearts is going to be the best one. I think I may just go back. So I'm going to go change it from color, and I'm going to change it 5 effect by 5 at a time. So I think I may actually just get rid of that heart one and just do the rainbow colors. Let's see. Is COVID over yet? Click here, click. Look at that. Still going too fast. So maybe I'll just change the effect by 1. There we go. That looks better. I should have had rainbows pop up instead of the stars. There has to be a rainbow in the sprites. Let's go check. So if you want something to look like it's hidden and appearing, that's where the look effect of the ghost effect will give you that transparency piece. I don't want sprite, I want a rainbow. If you, you can pixelate items, so if you want it to look like it's disappearing. I really want to change it to rainbows now. But I'm looking at our time and I'm trying, I may just change it up as we're talking. Is there any pieces of the code that you're questioning? Pieces that make sense, don't make sense? Like we said, you can see how this could really be just something that you check out, that you just create as an animation. That clicking part is kind of that next layer. So you just have to see what your kid's experience is with coding. If we did this in Scratch Junior, there's a tap option. When tapped, a code will start, and then there's an envelope option so you can broadcast as well. So even our younger kids could create a little bit of an interactive scene. We're using it for a card, but think about a digital, like your museum displays, where you would have like an interactive scene where they can click on different objects to learn about each of those. So for us with the full Scratch, or even in Scratch Junior, you can even have them go to different pages with more details and information. So a lot of great opportunities to explore. Think if you're talking about right answers, if they were doing a little quiz, if they wanted to tell somebody that they got the right answer in their quiz, this set of code could work for any of that. Okay, my rainbow's still a bit too big. I'm gonna go down to 60. And I am going to rotate that the other way. So that looks okay. And I'm going to set my code so that when they receive the message, oh, I have to make sure it's hidden. This is why I like to plan it out, because I'm bound to mess up some of the code. So when I start, I'm going to hide. When they receive the message, I'm going to show. And then I'm going to go forever. And I'm going to just keep turning. I think we figured out that it needed to be slower than 15. So let's check that out. stop, play. Is COVID over yet? Click here. That's a very psychedelic rainbow, but I am liking them, so let's get some more in there. Now, once I duplicate, I could get creative here. We can reposition these, put them at different angles. Maybe we'll even change some of the sizes. So I think I'll make this one 80. I'll make this one 90. Make this one a bit smaller, 40. So I can position them in different spots. And then I can come into each of those and change my angle up. So just like we did with Scratch Junior, when you rotate objects, if you get to reposition them, this is my easiest way, and then I just get rid of the code. You can go into costumes and rearrange them, but I find sometimes that just takes more time. So I'm gonna rotate. All right. It doesn't look too bad, eh, Sharon? This looks very exciting. The one thing, though, is that I don't have any music yet, and I do think my card will need music to make people feel good. So I'm just going to rotate this last one, and then I'm going to start adding music. Again, I have to think of where I want my music to play. Do I want it to play from the beginning? Do I want it just to play at the end? And tons of options for I think I should have put that one back down here. Okay, so let's stop. Let's test it out. Is COVID over yet? Not yet, but soon. I feel like I need another one over here. That's very, this may make somebody sick just by all the rotating objects, but we'll just keep adding them for the fun of it. Need to get this guy back over. All right. Yeah, the effects are really cool. I've also played with the effects for interactive art. So one of the new tools that Scratch got when it updated last year was a video sensing option. So they're actually hiding in the more blocks. So there's a bunch of extra blocks you can bring in. And one of those blocks is a video sensing. So there's actually code blocks that work in response to my webcam. So instead of clicking, I could set it when they see motion that they'll change the message for me. So lots of pieces there. We're going to not do that code though. Okay, what was I doing? Oh, music. Okay, so I have my music. I often will attach, with something like this, I would attach the music to the background because I don't want it attached to one single sprite. It makes more sense here because it's going to play as a group. So I'm going to come into my background and my stage, my backdrop and my stage code. And in my sounds, a lot of times the sound will go based on some generic choices. So most of the times you're going to go into your sound library and go search. I can also record my voice. So I can say, not yet, but soon. Cut out that beginning part and save. And when I go to my code, I can put that in. So I'm having it change color. I want it to change color and say the words at the same time. So I'm just going to make sure that my events have both start at the same time. I'm not going to put them together because then it would play the sound and wait to change color or vice versa. So this way, I don't want it to keep playing that sound. For the rest of my clip though, I'm going to go into my sounds. I'm going to go into search and I'm going to go to my loops and just find one that feels really, really nice. This sounds very, I don't know if it would be the best fit, but we're going to try. So dance head nod. So I'm going to play this until done. Sorry, I don't know how I got my dictionary up. Again, I want it to play while it says my words. I don't want them to play one after the other. So I'm going to, again, get it to start at the same time. So now I have three things happening when they send the message. It's going to start changing colors. It's going to play my recorded message, and it's going to start playing the music. So they all happen together. The video sensing, like you said, Sharon, is so cool. Today we were talking about the idea of it would be awesome to have kids design, especially online kids, designing games that they could play, video games they could play with movement. So getting them active, getting them moving. I love it for interactive art. So I made one once where I used the pen tool. So that's this guy here. And with my movements, it took the pen around. I did another one where it took my picture, and based on my movements, it would distort the picture in different ways. So kind of like an Andy Warhol print. I was really inspired by Moment Factory. They make such cool stuff. I would love to one day figure out how they do all their cool coding. I won't ever be at that level, but I think it's a lot of really creative ideas that could maybe inspire some kids. So just looking at the time, it's 5:02. Maybe as you're playing, let me know how your code is going. Test it out. If you did sign in, you're able to share. Look at that. It looks amazing. Not really, but it looks okay. So when you share your projects, giving it a title is probably a good thing. So I'm going to go back to see inside and change that up. Oh, I clicked the wrong button. So let's go to my stuff. There's my project. I did find with the video sensing, it's a little tricky to try to get the sensitivity, but if they've coded already, it's a great element to add in as a challenge. So I'm going to call it, this is the COVID message. So I'm just going to click enter, and it's going to save. And when I see my project file, you do have the option to give instructions. And if I remix this from somebody else, I can give them credit. I can thank somebody for their image that they drew. Lots of different pieces. As a teacher, you can also add to Studio. So this is really helpful if you find some examples, or if students have created different pieces and you want to put them together in one collection, then you can share that. Yeah, like I think that's the cool part about coding. I know they put it in the math curriculum, but there's so many things we can do with code. So like today, I'll show you the one we were doing earlier today. So earlier today, hopefully it's on here. Yes, we were creating a digital soundscape. So we've been looking at photography for media literacy and the arts. And the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about kind of leveling up, how we can use different colors and fonts. So we wanted to add that element of an image and sound. So for us, we created a little soundscape so that this picture now becomes, they can play it like a piano. So based on the letters that they push, I'll show you inside so you can see better. So each of those keys gives us a different sound effect. And then we're composing kind of that soundtrack that we think goes with this image. But we were saying, wouldn't it be cool to do something like that for a story, being able to bring in their own pictures and having those pictures tell a message, or kind of like an interactive story. Even with the games that we looked at before, you can create a game about anything. There's so many possibilities. I love the idea of moving away from maybe that physical diorama, or offering some kids the option of creating a digital diorama, and then having that extra layer of information that the kids have coded in. So it's not just that base image, it's now those elements. I think being able to take pictures of objects and bringing them in, really changes the game there for kids that don't want to draw individual elements. Like we said, Scratch has so many options that you can start with, but any picture that has a clear, transparent background can then become a sprite that moves around. Well, I know we were a small crew tonight. Thanks for joining. Thanks for chatting. Thanks for keeping the conversation going, Sharon. Really appreciate it. It's not as much fun when you're not chatting with someone. I think for December, we'll probably pause and just share in some other ways. We have 12 days of books and bites coming. So Melanie and I last year, along with a bunch of other really cool folks, just shared 12 ideas, 12 pairs of texts, and then the code that went with them. So I'm just trying to find, there we go. So if you, the joke is that Melanie and I always get the hashtag wrong. So it's kind of funny. Yep, we both got the hashtag wrong. L 3 times. She's better than I am. So there's a little video that explains a bit about 12 days of books and bites. And then if you do want to share an idea, that's awesome. You can let us know on the Google form. Or if you just want to follow, it's a BYTES. Hey, she got it right there. You can follow the hashtag, and from December 1st till the 17th, I think it is. Not quite the 7th, maybe the 15th or 16th. We'll be sharing ideas daily. So it's super cool to see everybody's ideas last year and to see ideas from all over. We had people in Peel, but also beyond. Mike joined us from Vegas with a really cool idea. So it's just kind of curating all the great ways people are putting coding and literacy together. All right, friends, I think we're going to sign off for tonight unless you have some other questions. And we'll see you online. Thanks for joining. See ya. I'll stay on for a few minutes if you have any questions. So Linda, yeah, the video always goes on my YouTube feed. I'll edit out me just staring at the screen for the first few minutes and some of, we don't have too long of a banter at the end. But yeah, I'll edit it and then I'll post it tomorrow. But I can see if I can pull that up while we're chatting. I do try, I think I messed up with the last two though. I do have a playlist and I try to put all the Appy hours in the playlist. And I'm on the wrong account. That would help. So we'll try to drop that in the chat, or maybe I can get it ready. I can put it onto Twitter. So there's the Appy Hour collection. So all of our Appy Hours are in this one, and I put that in the wrong spot. There you go. I love that I put the wrong videos in there sometimes, but most of the Appy Hours are in there, and I'll fix up that playlist. Sharon, I'll try to do it in the AM. It's just a quick bit. The link will still be the same, so you can use this link at any time. The other thing, I can't remember, Sharon, what grade are you teaching this year? Because the other thing that I'll have ready probably for next week is with our intermediates, we're working on a little code your own game inquiry. So we're going to create our own Aylesbury arcade. I'm trying to remember who came up with that. Somebody else had that awesome name. I wish I was that cool. So it's just going to be a Google site, and you kind of they can follow their own path. So it would also work for asynchronous. I don't know if, Sharon, you think all of your friends are ready. but you can even pull, so when we go into designing the game, I'm going to have a page here with learning more. So I've just dropped different videos. They're shorter than our Appy hour, so they're like 10 minutes at the most, I think I tried to do. So we're going to just have different types of games. For leveling up, I'm going to show some of those other features with drawing your own characters, creating different levels, that jazz, as well as the video sensing. So the whole inquiry may be too much, but maybe one of those videos can help with your friends to get them started. That, and also your scratch cards. So under ideas, Scratch has a lot of tutorials built in. There's lots available online. I find it's always finding what would work for kids. So what I really like, I don't like the tutorials as much, but I love their scratch cards. So that's how I learned a lot of the coding chunks. So we'll take kind of what you're doing, like let's animate your name. That's not as exciting. Let's go to one that's a bit more exciting. So this one, I'm very picky tonight. So here, creating your own chase game. So it will actually tell you the chunks of code that you're going to go through, and then it walks you step by step in how to make that code. So those those task cards, scratch cards, are really helpful as well if you're getting started. All right, it's been a blast. We'll see you guys online. I'll tweet out the Appy Hour collection and I'll fix up this video. I'll tweet it out at the latest tomorrow morning. But yeah, you can check it out on my YouTube as well. Have a great night, everyone. See ya.